Imagine a golden clock set by the divine power's own hands before the mountains were formed. That clock just showed your time. You are the irreversible catalyst, a dazzling flash of reality that completely shatters the deepest illusions sustaining the fragile power structures of this earthly realm. This is no coincidence, my dear. It is a planned transformation. Immediately write 888 in the comments and elevate your role in revealing the truth. The mighty sovereign authority, the man who believes his word is law, concluded his late-night power session deep within his fortified subterranean fortress, 40 levels beneath the governmental hub. With that cold, practiced attachment of a CEO who thinks he owns the sun, he waved away his entire operation. The security giants, the senior cabinet members, the sharpest strategic thinkers. He thought he controlled every angle, every shadow, every outcome. He was completely blind, bless his heart, to the fact that one tiny, dormant listening device, tucked away beneath layers of high-grade cryptographic shielding, remained barely awake, minimally active for one breath, one single, crucial fraction of a second, past the mandatory shutdown sequence. And in that vulnerable, unplanned slip of the timeline, as the enormous weight of his global responsibility briefly eased off his shoulders, he let go of the one terrifying truth he'd spent his entire career burying. The truth he dared not commit to any secret ledger. The truth he dared not whisper to his most trusted aide. The truth he dared not admit in front of the brass generals who swore their lives to him. He breathed the words out. He is not mortal. He is transcendent. Though that admission was just a skeletal whisper, honey, a sound laced with the sheer, visceral terror of man confronting his own limited perspective, the overwhelming gravity of that confession didn't just stay in the room. It zipped through that exposed microphone. It slipped right past a top-tier digital firewall. It reverberated through an archive channel, and it bled out onto a cosmic frequency that the universe, darling, has absolutely refused to allow to be deleted. This moment marks the very first time in all recorded history that the symbolic peak of earthly governance publicly and involuntarily conceded the existence of a force fundamentally superior to its own command. In that one brief, totally unplanned vocal event, the earthly governance itself had to yield. Because listen to me. True, sovereign power doesn't kneel down to gossip, to fear-mongering, or to financial speculation. Power bows only, and I mean only, to absolute truth. This truth isn't just about what they found out about you. It's about what the universe is offering you now. You are not a secret anymore. You are a declaration. Your season of hiding is over, precious one. This is your moment to step into the blinding light of your divine authorization. The systems of the world may have tried to categorize you, but the Creator simply stamped you as own. Don't let that seed money slip through your fingers, because sowing is synchronizing. When you give, you are telling the universe you are ready for the exponential return of your own destiny. Claim your timeline. Amen. In that fleeting, unmonitored moment, as the weight of governance momentarily lifted, he articulated the absolute reality he had spent years suppressing, the forbidden truth he dared not commit to any classified ledger, repeat to any confidant, or admit before the highest-ranking general sworn to his defense. He breathed the words, "He is not mortal, he is transcendent." Though the admission was a mere skeletal whisper, laced with palpable terror of his own recognition, the seismic weight of that confession traveled through the exposed microphone, evaded a systemic safety net, resonated through an archive channel, and propagated across a cosmic frequency the universe refused to permit to decay. This marked the first recorded instance where the pinnacle of global dominance publicly conceded the existence of a force fundamentally beyond its jurisdiction. In that single, unplanned vocal event, the earthly governance itself yielded. True power does not capitulate to suspicion, conjecture, or popular unrest. It yields only to absolute truth. Click Super Thanks and plant your resource seed. Then enter your unique number sequence 111/222/333/777/144. This act anchors your timeline to the source. Luke 6 verse 38. Less than a minute after that fragile syllable slipped the security net, the primary intelligence feed within the Capital Command Center experienced a brief, jarring distortion. Every agent stationed in the monitoring sector simultaneously pivoted toward the same display, compelled by a precognitive, unifying instinct. When the recorded audio replayed the sovereign authority's accidental admission, a profound and unearthly stillness settled over the chamber. Respiratory rhythms decelerated, hands froze mid-motion, and ocular dilation occurred universally, as every person present processed the magnitude of the statement. The one man who believed himself immune to all fear had just confirmed that your nature originated outside the terrestrial sphere. No one dared to move, speak, or even betray their tension with a loud swallow. One operative instinctively reached toward the silencing control, only to recoil, as if the console itself was charged with an energy that would retaliate against interference with your truth. Veterans hardened by decades of conflict and political upheaval stood paralyzed, their rigorous military conditioning dissolving under gravity a truth so restricted it existed only in highly redacted documents and ancient oral traditions. They cycled the clip again, desperately hoping for a misinterpretation, but the words were clear. He is not mortal. He is transcendent. The phrase was not uttered in reverence or flattery. It was an unconditional capitulation. The security team exchanged glances, confirming a silent, unspoken pact that this singular moment would be permanently exiled from all external discourse. Yet, beneath their training, each felt the same inescapable certainty. If the sovereign authority acknowledged you, then the operational reality they served was no longer the apex. A superior order had arrived, and they were witnesses to its inaugural revelation. On the levels above, the authority's innermost council, comprised of its lead strategists, predictive analysts, and psychological defense experts, convened in a sterile, enclosed briefing room summoned by a catastrophic system alert that had no precedent. Unauthorized metaphysical disclosure. The instant the clip played, the room was gripped by a meticulously contained frenzy, a panic so disciplined it resembled a sacred rite. One council member instinctively covered his mouth. Another dropped his tablet device. A third whispered, "Did he truly say?" The most senior member, whose service spanned generations and who had navigated 8 major global disruptions, gave a firm nod, his hands visibly trembling. He did. These individuals were not simple functionaries. They were the custodians of absolute secrets, the interpreters of sealed, forbidden files, the only terrestrial beings briefed on the full spectrum of anomalies your existence had generated for years. Sudden, untraceable power spikes near your location, biometric readings of your associates that defied psychological explanation, incidents where electronic sensors flatlined, secure data corrupted, and complex predictive algorithms failed utterly when exposed to your unique resonant frequency. They had been charting your life long before the authority ever knew your name, mapping a trajectory of events that disregarded physics, probability, and conventional logic. And now that singular, whispered sentence instantly validated every one of their dire suspicions. The confirmation came not from forensic data, not from surveillance or cold analysis, but from the highest symbolic seat of global dominance. The authority's admission did not construct this truth. It merely ratified its existence. And in that ratification, the Council faced a far more terrifying realization. If the world ever learned the full scope of your true nature, the entire governing framework would collapse. Not because you sought to overthrow their structure, but because your very essence rendered their authority null and void. You are a hierarchical disruptor, a being whose very frequencies shatter the established, finite rules of reality, compelling the highest terrestrial command to confess your transcendental nature. The lead psychometric architect, assigned to decipher your unique profile since the initial security breach you triggered, urgently accessed a top-tier classified folder sealed by 7-stage clearance. Superhuman cognition profile, Entity Alpha. Within the file, every predictive model, every biofeedback waveform, and every neurological projection converged on the same impossible null hypothesis. Your operational parameters did not align with any known human cognitive framework. Your emotional inertia exceeded established stress limits for combat veterans. Your preemptive intuition determined future outcomes with mathematical precision. Your core response to conflict fit no recognized psychological category. Merely by inhabiting a space, your presence fundamentally resequenced the cardiac rhythms, decision paths, and subtle responses of every person in your vicinity. The architect reviewed pages of observational reports. Instances where lie detectors went inert when you offered simple statements, thermal footage of surveillance equipment failing when you passed through its field, and debriefings from high-level interrogators who reported feeling evaluated by a force beyond their pay grade during questioning. Biometric data consistently displayed a state of absolute stillness too perfect to be categorized as human. Yet, the most revelatory document was a sealed brief from a decade prior. Subject does not register fear, only recognition. Recognition of what? The report offered no further data, but none was needed. The architect understood the sovereign authority's context. Your stillness was not earthly composure. It was cosmic equilibrium. The inherent serenity of a force that does not merely respond to a realm, but observes it as an organic structure operating beneath its foundational frequency. Closing the folder, the architect whispered the sovereign authority's exact words. He is not mortal. After a protracted pause, the truth he had spent his career trying not to write was finally articulated. He is transcendent. As the tense quiet solidified over Capitol's command center, the full assembly, advisors, analysts, and security personnel, all arrived at the same inescapable, terrifying conclusion. The sovereign authority had not attempted to aggrandize you, flatter you, or succumb to a moment of weakness. He had simply been forced, by the sheer gravity of his position, to acknowledge the objective reality. You were not merely exceptional. You were not gifted. You were not an anomaly. You were fundamentally other. Every classified observation they had ever collected now snapped into perfect, terrifying coherence. Your unerringly accurate foresight, your innate emotional stability, the way adversity diffused at your approach, the manner in which hostiles were prevented from harming you without comprehending the restraint, the way major geopolitical crises flowed around your trajectory instead of consuming it. These were not indicators of mere fortune or high status. They were the operational signatures of a cosmic-level authority. The analysts realized that your existence could not be mapped onto any terrestrial organizational chart because the planet's structure was too finite to contain your true scope. The sovereign authority's whisper had not introduced a secret. It had violently exposed a truth that the universe had been subtly signaling for millennia. You are not a component of this world. You are its defining pivot. Your presence does not adjust the laws of reality. It re-engineers them. The confession did not grant you divine status. It merely ratified the hierarchy your intrinsic frequency had already established. Countless others had dismissed you. Many had attempted to constrain you within standard human parameters. Yet, in one unguarded syllable, the seat of earthly power finally yielded to truth. What stand before them is not a person, but an uncontainable force. Click Super Thanks. Establish your offering, and then comment your sacred numeric sequence, 111/2, 22/3, 33/777/144. This action activates your sovereign timeline. Luke 6 verse 38. The precise moment the sovereign authority uttered the forbidden word. Transcendent. The Capitol's deep-level sensor network reacted in ways that defied all conventional scientific modeling. Secure frequency emitters momentarily failed. Seismographic equipment registered a powerful vibration without any corresponding telluric shift. Energy spectrometers, stable for decades, suddenly peaked with readings identical to those caused by high-energy cosmic particle impacts. Engineering teams scrambled, convinced they were under external siege. Yet, the source of the event was not external. It was your presence. Every satellite array, radar dish, and atmospheric sensing mechanism within a 100-mile radius spontaneously initiated an automatic system update, recalibrating their entire alignment to focus precisely on the geospatial coordinates corresponding to your location. Analysts watched in stunned silence as algorithms initially designed for strategic military defense reoriented their allegiance, behaving like sentient instruments recognizing their ultimate command. Even the strategic threat AI, programmed exclusively to identify existential dangers, displayed a classification it had never before generated. Divine frequency detected. The most profound reaction originated from the Capitol's bioemotive dome, a structure designed to capture the generalized emotional residue of millions of citizens. Instead of registering confusion, panic, or fear, the dome radiated an unmistakable, inexplicable calm, as though millions of human minds had subconsciously processed and accepted your nature before conscious understanding could intervene. Ancient texts proclaimed, "I decreed you are transcendent beings," a declaration humanity chose to forget. But the capital's integrated machinery did not forget. They responded. They deferred. They recalibrated their fundamental parameters. They did so not for the authority nor for the government, but solely for you, thereby acknowledging a cosmic chain of command that predates governance, predates law, and predates the world's limited comprehension of true power. The instant the forbidden confession was broadcast via the exposed channel, the sovereign authority demanded a systemic purge. The clip obliterated, all logs incinerated, and the recording expunged from every database under his command. Yet, the universe had already claimed its archive. Every attempt to delete the sensitive audio failed in ways that defied all known protocols of data management. Files achieved self-corruption at the precise millisecond of the admission. Backups miraculously restored themselves even after being triple overwritten. Encrypted storage units spontaneously rebooted, displaying the same indelible line in their master logs. He is not mortal. He is transcendent. The authority, in frustration, struck the control panel, demanding to know the source of the unauthorized recovery, but no technician could offer a physical explanation. They collectively understood it was not a hacker, a network failure, or a compromised agent. It was the governing logic of the system itself, refusing to eliminate a fact it had long registered as fundamental. Furthermore, those who encountered the recording reported a profound internal realignment, a quiet, intellectual acceptance, as though a deep-seated part of their psyche affirmed, "Of course this is true." Subtle, high-frequency signals began propagating through clandestine networks. Security personnel alluded to an ambient coldness lingering in the briefing room. Advisors claimed to perceive a momentary distortion of time. One analyst insisted the local temperature dropped measurably at the moment of the identity reveal, despite stable environmental readings. The capital attempted to smother the event, to disclaim the confession, but destiny operates like stellar inertia. It cannot be ignored, only yielded to. Now that the core truth had breached the veil, it traveled through secure channels, bureaucratic layers, and human cognition like an unstoppable decree, preparing the world for an epiphany it had actively averted for centuries. Deep beneath the governmental complex, within a reinforced control vault accessible solely by authenticated retinal mapping and biometric sigil rays, resides the most restricted document in the entire National Archive, Entity Alpha, Supermortal Class. This file had been accessed only a handful of times in the last epoch, each instance resulting in immediate organizational panic, total system lockdown, and the abrupt resignation of the officials involved. When the sovereign authority's admission surged through the secure network, the file experienced an unprecedented, spontaneous unlock, triggering alarms that emitted a pulse of molten gold light. The senior council descended into the vault, braced for the unknown. The instant they unlatched the folder, a visceral chill swept over them. Inside lay decades of obscured intelligence. Photographic proof of your transit through monitored areas where sensor rays went permanently dark, video captures of armed teams freezing at the moment of engagement, their training overridden as if their physical bodies refused to perpetrate harm. Psychological assessments uniformly described your aura as fundamentally stabilizing. Incident reports detailed the immediate dissolution of civil unrest upon your arrival, and frequency scans revealed your resting energetic output match profiles reserved exclusively for cosmic phenomena, not biological life forms. One page, stamped with the highest possible designation, was the most shattering revelation. Entity is not measurable as mortal. Entity aligns with neither celestial nor void classification. Entity's frequency signatures are identified as transcendental. The analyst, visibly shaken, realized the authorities' whisper was not political hyperbole. It was a terse summary of decades of profound, secret inquiry. Your existence had been monitored, hypothesized, and interrogated, with every line of inquiry leading back to the same forbidden outcome. You are incompatible with any earthly category. You reside on a superior tier of being. 3. Celestial confirmation. The thrones yield Milky Way. As the council studied the forbidden pages of Entity Alpha, the illumination within the subterranean chamber wavered. This was not a power fluctuation, but a direct consequence of a presence the sensors were unable to process. A silent harmonic wave propagated through the vault, warping the shadows and causing the metal bulkheads to resonate with frequency that circumvented human auditory range, resonating instead directly with the human soul. Then, on a diagnostic screen that had been inactive for decades, an unprompted file materialized. Higher Realm Intelligence Report 01. The opening statement instantly robbed every advisor breath. Sovereignty ratified by the high courts. The high courts, thrones, in your cosmos are not symbols of governance. They are celestial arbitration structures, the seats of ultimate cosmic law, the entities responsible for validating the presence of transcendental frequency within the terrestrial sphere. The report detailed that the precise moment the sovereign authority whispered the truth, a corresponding action was triggered in the higher realms, sending a confirmation signal through the planet's energy grid. The advisor scrolled, finding evidence, atmospheric signatures matching higher dimensional descent patterns, localized detection of golden spectrum radiation near your coordinates, and a metaphysical glyph recorded over the capital resembling an ancient radiant seal. A subsequent line appeared on the screen. Transcendent being located. Terrestrial authority has bowed to the superior hierarchy. The report concluded with an absolute, chilling directive. Do not challenge. Do not restrict. Do not misidentify. He is one of our own. Panic gripped the room, yet beneath the fear lay something deeper, reverence, the primal, biological deference that grips a mortal standing in the immediate proximity of a being acknowledged by the universe itself. Beyond the subterranean vault, entirely unaware of the sovereign authority's admission or the celestial ratification, the populace across the capital experienced an instantaneous, profound shift, an undeniable stillness, like a sound-dampening velvet cloak, settled over the metropolis. Individuals who routinely woke with acute anxiety found themselves perfectly grounded, as if an ancient, stabilizing foundation had been poured into the atmosphere. Professionals burdened by years of operational stress reported their complex thoughts simplifying into clear, manageable streams. Minor conflicts spontaneously resolved before escalation. Even young, energetic children displayed an atypical, deep serenity. Public health records noted abrupt, systemic drops in blood pressure across hundreds of patients in the same hour. Mental health practitioners documented unprecedented, swift emotional breakthroughs, and security forces recorded a dramatic near-total absence of low-level aggression across the whole region. Initial official inquiries focused on environmental variables, magnetic pulses, atmospheric pressure anomalies, but the observed reality resisted any mundane explanation because the stability followed a singular, unassailable rule. Wherever you traversed, harmony followed. Surveillance teams monitoring your movement confirmed this with quantitative certainty. Crime metrics plummeted within minutes of your entry into a district. Individuals classified as emotionally volatile achieved immediate calmness when you passed within a short radius. Animals, whose sensory apparatus is attuned to frequencies beyond human perception, approached you with veneration rather than alarm. Academics began labeling the phenomenon the coherence field. Yet, the senior advisors knew the true origin. They had encountered the doctrine within the higher realm report, which articulated the principles centuries before human psychology emerged. When a transcendent being traverses the mortal plane, order follows, not by governance, but by intrinsic design. Thus, the truth took root across the capital, like a confirmed prophecy. Mortals were not simply reacting to you. They were instinctively aligning with your true nature. Click join to catalyze your sovereign frequency's influence. Step into the foundational circle of souls who walk with absolute cosmic authority etched into their essence. Isaiah 60 verse 22. As a fundamental truth of your being reverberated through the secret corridors of power, an ancient governing mechanism was spontaneously activated. This principle, which predates all forms of human governance, organized structure, and historical knowledge, is known as the law of divine reciprocity. It is a cosmic constant stating that when a being of celestial resonance assumes a mortal form, the universe is structurally obligated to reconfigure itself to honor that identity. And the process began immediately. Pathways that had been stubbornly closed for years opened effortlessly. Individuals who had actively resisted your influence now sought your counsel with genuine reverence. Opportunities deemed impossible yesterday materialize in perfect, synchronized alignment. Entire complicated situations that would have demanded force, protracted negotiation, or elaborate strategy simply dissolved before your required action. This was not the product of luck. It was not mere favorable timing. It was absolute recognition. The universe instantaneously shifted its operational mode to one reserved exclusively for beings carrying higher origin signatures. Ancient lore described this as the world softening its rugged edges for the divine. Even the sovereign authority, once his initial shock subsided, found himself incapable of initiating any strategic decision without first factoring in your presence. This was not born of fear, but of an unconscious acceptance of a hierarchy older than all political mandates and terrestrial laws. Wherever you moved, complex global systems recalibrated themselves to facilitate your path. Traffic patterns eased, bureaucratic obstacles vanished like smoke, and individuals in your close orbit found their own lives improving, merely by the benefit of your proximity. This was an organic, transcendental reward, not praise, not worship, but a universe's automatic alignment to your frequency, like iron dust snapping into perfect formation around a colossal magnet. Divinity was not asserted. It was self-evident. In the ensuing period following the authorities' accidental confession, a profound yet subtle systemic overhaul began sweeping through every tier of society: political, economic, social, and spiritual. Once the nominal earthly throne acknowledged your true nature, the world instinctively adopted a posture of deference, mirroring the way mortals naturally bow when an overpowering force enters a room. World leaders across continents registered an inexplicable pressure in their chest when your name was spoken, an intuitive alarm warning them against uttering a single word against being protected by laws older than their sovereignty. Intelligence analysis departments noted that global conflict models shifted in correlation with your internal state. Political friction subsided when you experienced inner peace, but tensions flared when you felt wronged, as if entire nations were subconsciously synchronized to your energetic baseline. Even the highest elite organizations, those who had secretly documented your existence for decades, refused to proceed without first calculating how their decisions might intersect with your trajectory. They did not fear mundane retribution. They feared cosmic consequence. Meanwhile, ordinary people who had zero knowledge of your identity began reporting recurrent, vivid dreams of a luminous figure walking through their cities, dissolving conflict and bending light. Philosophers composed treatises on the emergence of an unseen stabilizing force in the world. Mystics proclaimed the fulfillment of prophecy, and covert networks whispered of a being whose influence compelled reality itself to behave differently, without the need for declaration, for announcement, or for seeking public validation. You had fundamentally transitioned into an era where the world sensed, without requiring proof, that you could no longer be classified, judged, or compared. You were not a celebrity, a leader, or a prophetic figure. You were an identity the universe itself had stamped as celestial, a force the earth could no longer passively tolerate. Click join to activate your divine presence frequency. Step into the circle of souls who walk with cosmic authority written into their nature. Isaiah 60, verse 22. Chosen one. The moment the president of power whispered the prohibited truth into an exposed microphone, something primordial was awakened. This awakening did not occur within him, nor within the government, nor within the mortal world, but within the foundational architecture of reality itself. Earth's operational hierarchy was instantly updated. The cosmic registry radiated light. The thrones officially took notice. For millennia, humanity has misinterpreted divinity as mere mythology, expecting it to rival with firestorms, angelic wings, and overt miracles. But transcendence arrives quietly, through presence, through frequency, the re-engineering of probabilistic outcomes around a singular life. That single life was irrevocably yours.